I'm getting a divorce. My husband, the company commander, doesn't know yet. He's been too busy taking care of his newly widowed childhood sweetheart. So busy, in fact, that he brought her into our home. Now, every woman in the compound laughs behind my back. In my previous life, I chose to swallow my pride, to serve my husband and care for his paralyzed mother. But in the end, both of them turned their backs on me, standing by Selena as they watched me die in silence. When I opened my eyes again, I made a different choice, to abandon my husband without hesitation. I volunteered to join the construction efforts in the Northwest, offering my life to the nation instead of to a loveless marriage. And at the same time, I submitted my divorce papers. Chapter 1. I heard you filed for divorce, but you and Kevin just got married, didn't you? The director frowned in surprise. Getting divorced after only a year, especially in the 1980s, was almost unheard of. We're not compatible, I said calmly. It's only a matter of time before we split. Did Kevin agree to the divorce too? He asked. I handed him the papers and flipped to the last page, where Kevin's signature was neatly written. Kevin had always been the steady, responsible type. I had assumed he would never agree. But when I handed him the papers, the guard suddenly knocked on the door. Captain, Miss Selena has arrived. She's waiting outside. The moment he heard Selena's name, Kevin didn't even glance at the divorce papers. He simply picked up a pen and signed. After confirming that it was indeed Kevin's signature, the director sighed. Well then, if both of you agree, there's nothing more I can say. But according to regulations, since your marriage was so short, a mediator might still be assigned to talk to you. Seeing that he had relented, I handed him another document, my application to volunteer for the Northwest construction project. He gave me a surprised look, then sighed again. As long as you've made up your mind, that mother-in-law of the captain's isn't easy to deal with either. Maybe going to the Northwest is better for you. Even outsiders knew how difficult my mother-in-law was. I smiled faintly and replied. Building the Northwest was also one of my father's last wishes. He always wanted to contribute to the country. The director's expression softened, and he nodded approvingly. It's admirable that you think this way, but you applied late. The team departs in 7 days. You don't have much time. Go home and get ready. I nodded, thanked him, and left the office. Holding the approval letter in my hand, I felt unexpectedly light. If I'd known divorcing Kevin would be this easy, I would never have let him trap me for a lifetime. In my past life, I didn't hear his true thoughts until my dying breath. That he had always resented me for taking the place of the woman he loved. The one he truly wanted to marry was Selena. Since that's the case, this time, I'll gladly give her what she wants. Chapter 2. When I got home, Selena's luggage had already filled the living room. She stood beside Kevin, her belly round with pregnancy, giggling endlessly. Kevin kept trying to cheer her up, one hand carefully hovering behind her back, as if even the slightest movement might hurt her. Our eyes met. Kevin, tall and broad-shouldered from years in the military, had a sharpness in his gaze, a cold, unapproachable light that made people instinctively keep their distance, even though I was his wife. His eyes had never held any warmth for me. He grew up in the military compound, raised under strict standards. I, on the other hand, came from the countryside. As he once told me, we were not people from the same world. I only became his wife because my father had saved his father's life, and before dying, entrusted me to Kevin's care. Even so, he had never looked at me without disdain. To him, my rural background was shameful. I carried the scent of poverty, but Selena was different. She and Kevin had grown up together, childhood sweethearts. He became a soldier. She pursued literature. They matched perfectly. If not for me, they would have married long ago. I walked past them toward my room. Kevin, looking slightly uneasy, spoke up. Emma, I've cleared out our room for Selena. I glanced inside and saw that all my clothes had been thrown into the smaller bedroom. When I didn't respond, Kevin hurried to explain. Selena's pregnant. It's not safe for her to stay in the small room. This apartment had 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. My mother-in-law occupied a modest-sized room, while Kevin and I shared the master bedroom. The small bedroom was meant to be the nursery someday. But that room was barely big enough for one person. Still, Kevin didn't want Selena to feel cramped, so he decided it would be me who got squeezed into that tiny space. That was fine by me. At least the small room was too narrow for 2 people. He would have to sleep on the couch. And I wouldn't have to see him anymore. When I stayed silent, Kevin tried to say something else. I cut him off, my tone flat and emotionless. All right. I understand. She's pregnant. You should take good care of her. Both of them froze, clearly not expecting that response. I went inside and began quietly packing my things. All afternoon, Kevin busied himself helping Selena unpack. He even bought matching toothbrushes for the 2 of them. Mine had already disappeared. In the past, I would have exploded, yelled, cried, demanded justice. Now, I only smiled faintly. I was already done with the man. Why would I care about a toothbrush? After dinner, Kevin came to find me. Under the dim light, his face was shadowed and unreadable. I said nothing. He bent down to straighten the sheets on my bed, something he had never done for me. Not once in 2 lifetimes. I frowned, watching him. And he finally said what he came for. Emma, my allowance this month might not go to the household. He pressed his lips together before continuing. Selena's pregnant, and she's weak. I want to buy her some supplements. Even he knew how inappropriate that sounded. A flush crept up his face. I didn't care. Even before Selena came, Kevin never handed me his full allowance. He used to say men had their own extra expenses, but I knew the truth. He had been sending the money to Selena all along, afraid she might suffer in her in-laws' house. So he quietly supported her. I said calmly, "No problem. It's your money. Spend it however you like. You don't need to ask me again." Kevin froze. In his eyes, I had always been petty and calculating. How could I suddenly agree so easily? He grabbed my hand. "Are you angry?" he asked. Before I could answer, Selena's voice called from the bathroom. Something about the water being too hot. Without a second thought, Kevin let go of my hand and ran toward her like an eager boy. Chapter 3. In my previous life, when Kevin brought Selena home, he pampered her the same way, without a shred of restraint or shame. The women in the compound used to whisper and laugh behind my back, mocking me for not being able to keep my husband in check. I tried talking to him once, gently suggesting that I could help take care of Selena, but that since he was married now, he should keep some distance. For that single sentence, he didn't speak to me for 6 whole months. I used to think it was my fault, that I hadn't done enough, hadn't been good enough. But now I know better. When a man doesn't love you, everything you do will be wrong in his eyes. In my past life, Selena lived in our house for nearly 10 years. 10 years of silent torture. 10 years of cold indifference. Kevin froze me out completely. I thought that if I worked hard enough, if I took care of the household and nursed his paralyzed mother, he would eventually see my worth. But before I died, I learned the truth. My mother-in-law resented me deeply for not bearing a child. She had spent years scheming to create private moments for Kevin and Selena behind my back. I was so angry that I suffered a stroke and ended up in the hospital. Then she came to threaten me, her voice sharp and venomous. "If you can't give birth, then stop clinging to my son, or I'll dig up your father's grave myself. My son has been lonely for half his life because of you. You'd better step aside and let Selena take your place. What right do you have to be my daughter-in-law?" It was then I realized that she had hated me for years, blaming me for the broken family line, believing I was barren. Selena, of course, won her favor easily. She could give them an heir. I was furious. I refused to sign the divorce papers, so she hired people to dig up my father's grave, to force me into submission. In the end, their cruelty killed me. Not long after my death, Kevin and Selena got married. I was buried without ceremony, like I had never existed. Now that I'm alive again, I've sworn never to care for anyone else's feelings. The paralyzed mother-in-law? Someone else can tend to her. The cold, indifferent husband? Someone else can please him. This time, I'll live only for myself. Chapter 4. The next morning, Selena's pitiful voice drifted from the kitchen. "Why are there no eggs?" I can go without nutrition, but the baby can't. Kevin's expression darkened as he turned to me. Emma, why didn't you make eggs for Selena? I started counting on my fingers, my tone calm and precise. You bring home 30 yuan a month. Half of that goes to your mother's medicine. She's picky with food, she demands meat at every meal, which costs another 8 yuan a month, to make sure you get enough nutrients. I boil you one fresh egg every morning. I bought 30 eggs at the start of the month, 2 yuan gone. Now, you tell me, with only 5 yuan left, where exactly am I supposed to conjure another egg for her? His money never covered our expenses. I had to take on odd jobs just to make ends meet. Kevin always thought 30 yuan was generous. Now that I broke it down, he froze, speechless. Finally, his face darkened. Then give my egg to Selena, he said coldly. At his words, I turned without protest and went into the kitchen. Selena kept thanking him sweetly. Kevin, you're so good to me. It's nothing. It's what I should do, he replied. The two of them exchanged soft smiles over breakfast. As if I were invisible, I lowered my head and ate in silence, pretending not to see. Then, the front door opened. Captain, a voice barked. Why is your wife drinking rice soup, while this other woman gets the only egg? Is this how you treat your spouse? I looked up and saw the badge on the newcomer's chest. He must have been the mediator sent by the higher-ups. Kevin frowned immediately and turned on me. Emma, who is this? Before I could answer, Selena spoke up weakly, her voice trembling like she was on the verge of tears. Emma, I know you're unhappy that I'm staying here, but bringing another man to confront Kevin, isn't that going too far? If you really can't stand me, I'll move out as soon as possible. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Kevin's face hardened with anger. The mediator slammed his hand on the table. Enough of your lies, he snapped at Selena. Kevin's cold gaze shifted to me. I knew he believed her already. The mediator tried to defend me, but I shook my head. Let him think what he wants, no matter what I say. He's already judged me guilty. Don't be afraid, the mediator said to me. I'm here to make sure you're treated fairly. If anyone bullies you, tell me. Kevin's face twisted with rage at those words. He grabbed the mediator by the collar. What's your relationship with her? Huh? You think I'm dead, Emma? A chill spread through me. All the early mornings, all the housework, all the care for his paralyzed mother, and he thought I still had time to cheat. I met his eyes. Neither of us backed down. The mediator sighed. Forget mediation, he said quietly. It's clear this marriage should end. Divorce? What divorce? Kevin barked. Kevin, Selena whimpered suddenly. My stomach hurts. Before anyone could react, she collapsed, clutching her belly. Kevin rushed to her instantly, cradling her as if she were made of glass. They clung to each other, like a real husband and wife. Between her gasps, Selena insinuated that I had poisoned her breakfast. It was absurd, and yet, Kevin believed her. Before leaving with her in his arms, he turned to me coldly. Emma, if I find out you did anything to her food, don't expect me to show mercy. I gripped the table to keep from collapsing. So that was what he thought of me, a jealous, bitter woman capable of hurting a pregnant rival. The mediator steadied me and sighed. There's no need for more mediation. Don't worry, your divorce papers will be processed within days. At last, I exhaled. For the first time, I was certain I had to leave Kevin. Selena had slandered me over and over, and Kevin had never once chosen to believe me. The human heart doesn't shatter all at once. It breaks piece by piece, until there's nothing left. When the mediator left, I almost felt relieved. But then my mother-in-law rolled her wheelchair up behind me, sneering. Divorce? So this is about your lover, isn't it? You've betrayed my son, haven't you? I turned to her coldly. She recoiled, her arrogance faltering. I will divorce your son, I said evenly. But I've never done anything unfaithful. She needed to hear that, because once she spread a rumor, the entire compound would believe her. In my past life, she'd done exactly that, twisting my long hours of outside work into tales of infidelity. Soon, everyone shunned me. When I told Kevin, he'd only said, "Why is it that others can make friends, but you're always the one being gossiped about?" Think about that, Emma. His words had crushed me then. I fell into depression, nearly didn't make it out alive. But not this time. This time, I refused to destroy myself for them, ignoring my mother-in-law's scornful glare. I went to my room and began packing. Behind me, her voice echoed through the courtyard, dripping with malice. "Can't bear children and still dares to poison a pregnant woman. Some people are rotten to the core." I laughed softly. So what if I couldn't have children? If they'd grow up to be like Kevin, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. Chapter 5. For several days, Kevin didn't come home. In the meantime, someone delivered the divorce certificate. When I finally saw Kevin again, I almost thought I'd mistaken him for someone else. He rushed in, dusty from the road, a faint guilt between his brows as he explained. "I blamed you that day. Selena was just having normal contractions." Kevin pressed a few pieces of chocolate into my palm. He rarely treated me well, let alone buying something this expensive. Only because of Selena would he be this generous. He watched me carefully, his eyes brimming with expectation. I ignored him, set the chocolate on the table, and stood up. Kevin grabbed my wrist. "Why aren't you eating?" I pulled free and stepped back. "Why should I?" He blurted, anxious. "Don't you like it? I bought it for you. Why won't you eat?" He only thought I loved chocolate. Kevin always assumed that. Coming from the countryside, I'd never tasted good things. At our engagement, he gave me a piece of chocolate that Selena liked. He believed that whatever she loved, I would surely love too. That day he looked at me the same way, eager, expectant. So I forced it down in front of him, just to save face for him. Since then, he thought I adored these city treats. In truth, I hate that cloying bitterness. Back then I ate it because it was from him. But now, just smelling it and remembering how many chocolates he'd gifted to Selena, made my stomach churn. I shoved past Kevin, rushed to the bathroom, and retched. He stood in the doorway, his face so dark it could drip water. Soon after, he moved my things back into the master bedroom of his own accord, tugging me to sleep beside him. Luckily, I'd prepared 2 quilts in advance. We slept on opposite sides. After a long, tense silence, Kevin finally said, "Emma, Mom wants you to go to the hospital for a checkup." In the dark, I frowned, wondering what the family was plotting now. He quickly added, "It's been so long since we married and there's still no child. Go see if anything's wrong." I was quiet for a long time. Memories from my previous life rose up, gripping my heart with pain. At last, I said, "Fine, I'll get checked. But to be safe, you should get checked too. Let's see whose problem it is." I reminded him. After all, conception is a responsibility shared by both. Kevin didn't think twice. He was confident there'd be nothing wrong with him. But in my last life, I'd gone to the hospital behind his back. The report said I was perfectly healthy. To protect his pride, I never told him. The next day, we got examined one after the other, and as bad luck would have it, we ran into Selena, who was on bed rest at the hospital. Kevin explained why we were there. Selena covered her mouth and laughed softly. "Kevin, you can't force a baby to come. You're too anxious." Then she added, "But I do have some secret remedies. If you step out, I can quietly tell Sister Emma. It might help you two have a baby sooner." I refused on the spot. "I don't want to hear it." "You don't need to say anything. A woman's intuition never lies." Selena didn't like me, and she definitely wasn't going to teach me any secret fertility remedies. But Kevin stopped me. "Emma, I really want us to have a baby soon. Just hear Selena out, it won't take long." And with that, he walked out of the room, even closing the door behind him. I watched Selena warily. She came closer and, with a fake smile, reached for my hand. The touch made my skin crawl, and I quickly pulled away. As soon as Kevin's footsteps faded, her face changed. "Emma," she sneered, her tone full of provocation. "Between you and me, who do you think Kevin would choose?" Her eyes glittered with pride, the confidence of someone who believed she had already won. In my past life, even after decades as Kevin's wife. His eyes had always belonged to her. In this life, even pregnant, she was still the center of his world. But suddenly, I laughed. If she wanted to win so badly, then she could have him. I turned to leave, but Selena grabbed my wrist, hissing, "Then I'll show you who Kevin really belongs to." Before I could react, she threw herself to the ground, hands braced dramatically, and my hand, still caught in hers, was yanked down with her. "Kevin!" she screamed. Kevin burst through the door, only to see me standing over Selena, who was sprawled on the floor. "I didn't do it," I said immediately. His voice was cold. "There were only 2 people in the room. If it wasn't you, did she fall by herself? Then maybe you should ask her," I replied. Selena lifted a trembling hand, her voice weak and shaking. "Blood, there's blood. Emma, you can hurt me if you want. But why would you hurt my baby?" Kevin turned, saw the red stain spreading beneath her, and his fury exploded. He grabbed my wrist, his voice harsh and trembling. "Emma, how could you be so vicious? Apologize to Selena." "Never," I shouted back. Smack! The slap came out of nowhere. My ears rang, my vision blurred. Kevin stared at his own hand, as if shocked by what he'd done. A flicker of panic crossed his face. He reached for me, but I stopped him cold. "Get out," I said. On the floor, Selena clutched her belly, groaning. "Kevin, I think the baby's coming. Please, hurry." Kevin scooped her into his arms, then turned back toward me. "Emma, wait here. I'll explain everything when I get back." I didn't mean to, whether he meant it or not. I no longer cared. If he could slap me for her, that said everything. Even my father, strict as he was, had never raised a hand to me. That slap, I'd remember forever. And besides, I knew he wouldn't be back soon. Whenever it came to Selena, he always lost his head. Helping her deliver the baby would take hours, half a day, at least. The Northwest construction team was leaving today. I didn't wait for Kevin. I left the hospital quietly. At the corner, a doctor stopped me and handed me and Kevin's medical reports. Just like in my previous life, mine was perfectly normal, without a word. I placed the report and the divorce certificate right on the living room table, where he'd be sure to see them. Then, without a single glance back, I walked away for good. Chapter 6. After Kevin sent Selena into the delivery room, he instinctively turned to leave. Selena tugged at his sleeve, her voice soft and trembling. "Kevin, you're not staying with me?" Her eyes were full of longing, but for some reason, Kevin felt uneasy, a strange anxiety twisting in his chest. He didn't even know why, but all he could think about was Emma. Gently placing Selena's hand back on the bed, he said quietly, "I'll go check on Emma first." Then he walked out, leaving Selena staring after him, her fingers clutching the bedsheet tightly in silent fury. Kevin searched the hospital from one end to the other, but there was no sign of Emma. Finally, a doctor frowned and asked, "Are you looking for that lady from earlier?" "She already left." The doctor's tone turned stern. "Your wife is giving birth and you're still entangled with another woman? You're wearing a military uniform. How could you do something so disgraceful?" Kevin's face flushed dark red with embarrassment. He muttered weakly, "She's not my wife." But somehow, ever since Selena had moved in, everyone around him had assumed they were a couple. He had tried to explain, but each time, Selena would pull him away, smiling softly. "There's no need to explain, Kevin," she'd say sweetly. "Those who matter know the truth." And he would drop it, thinking it wasn't worth the effort. But for some reason, today he had desperately wanted to clarify, to tell the world that his wife was Emma, not anyone else. As soon as he got the news that Emma had left, Kevin rushed home. He searched every room, but she was nowhere to be found. When he entered their bedroom, he noticed immediately the bag her father had given her was gone. He called in one of the guards. "Where's Madam?" The guard hesitated before answering. "Sir, Madam left earlier with her things." "Left?" Kevin's mind went blank. Emma never went out aimlessly. She was always home, either cooking, cleaning, or caring for his bedridden mother. After marrying him, she'd cut herself off from friends and outings. So how could she suddenly just leave? Why didn't you tell me? Kevin's voice rose sharply. The guard flinched, trembling, but managed to stammer out. Sir, you told us after your last argument that we shouldn't report her whereabouts to you anymore. Kevin froze. He had said that, but he had never imagined she would actually disappear. After the guard left, Kevin sank down on the bed, staring blankly at the floor. His mother called his name several times, but he didn't respond. Finally, she sighed. So Emma's gone? Good riddance. You were forced to marry her anyway. It's about time this ended. Besides, she added coldly, a barren hen like her is useless in this house. Kevin winced and told his mother to stop. Even now, while he was still there, she spoke so cruelly. He didn't dare imagine how Emma had endured this household when he wasn't home. Didn't you always dislike her? His mother pressed. Now you can finally be with Selena. You grew up together. It's only natural. Mom, Kevin's voice thundered through the house. I never said I wanted to leave Emma. His mother froze, staring at him in disbelief. It was the first time her son had ever raised his voice at her, and all because of another woman. Chapter 7. Kevin had always disliked Emma's lack of education. To him, she was crude, unsophisticated, a poor match for someone raised in a military family. But her father had once saved his father's life. He couldn't refuse to marry her, and he couldn't bear the shame of being called ungrateful. He sat there in a daze, then suddenly stood up, a wild impulse pushing him to go find her. Just then, the so-called adulterer, the mediator, arrived at his door. The man handed him a document. This is the declaration Emma submitted. Kevin unfolded the paper, and his breath caught as he read the words. I, Emma, voluntarily join the Northwest Development Project. If any accident occurs, I bear full responsibility. No one else shall be held accountable. Kevin's face turned pale. He grabbed the mediator by the collar, his eyes bloodshot with panic. Emma went to the Northwest? That's impossible. I'm her husband. She can't go without my consent. What kind of procedure is this? The mediator sneered. So you do remember you're her husband? You gave eggs to another woman while your wife had nothing but rice soup. Did you ever once check what was in her bowl? Besides, he continued coldly, didn't Emma leave you the divorce certificate? You two are already divorced. She doesn't need your permission to go anywhere. Kevin's mind went blank. Emma went to the Northwest, and they were divorced? Why didn't he know any of this? He remembered how strange she had been lately, quietly packing her things, avoiding him, never meeting his eyes. He had assumed she was sulking over Selena's presence, and hadn't paid much attention. The mediator shoved another document at him. Captain, look carefully, this is your signature. Kevin's hands trembled as he stared down. Sure enough, his handwriting was there, and suddenly it hit him. That night Selena had arrived. Emma had handed him a paper to sign. He'd been in a rush to meet Selena, so he'd signed without looking. It was the divorce consent form. Kevin's knees almost buckled. He gripped the table to steady himself. The mediator's voice cut through his haze. Now you regret it? If you had treated your wife better, the organization might have intervened. But how did you treat her, Captain? You yelled at her, humiliated her, and left with another woman in your arms. And Emma's father, he was your family's savior. Kevin couldn't lift his head. Shame and regret tore through him. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw something red glinting on the table. He rushed over. It was the divorce certificate and Emma's medical report. His hands clenched, crumpling the certificate until it tore into shreds. Pieces fell to the floor as his eyes reddened. It doesn't count, he muttered hoarsely. None of this counts. Then, with sudden determination, submit a request to the organization. I'm going to the Northwest. He would go after her himself. But just as he reached the door, his mother blocked his way. You're not going anywhere, she shouted. If you dare go after that woman, I swear I'll die right here in front of you. As long as I'm alive. You'll never be with that cursed Jinx again. Kevin froze. He knew his mother had always despised Emma for being from the countryside. And even more because she hadn't conceived after more than a year. But she didn't know the truth. He had never told her. He couldn't. In over a year of marriage. He had only been with Emma twice. Once on their wedding night. And once after learning Selena was pregnant. He hadn't touched her since. And when he'd seen the medical report just moments ago. Rage and shame nearly made him faint. His mother kept talking, unaware of the storm building in him. Our family needs heirs. Kevin! Selena just gave birth, she has experience. You should marry her and give this family a child. That was the breaking point. Kevin slammed the report onto the table, shouting, Enough, Mom. Emma's body is fine. It's me who can't have children. Even if I marry someone else. Nothing will change. His mother froze. Her face pale with disbelief. For a second, she thought he was lying to protect Emma, but Kevin had never lied to her, not once. With trembling hands, she picked up the report from the table. Her eyes widened as she read the words. Extremely low sperm motility. Her chest tightened. Her breathing grew shallow. Then, with a strangled gasp, she collapsed back in her wheelchair, unconscious. Chapter 8. After Kevin's mother was rushed to the hospital, she remained unconscious for a time. Meanwhile, Selena gave birth to a baby boy. Both mother and child were safe. Yet, watching Selena cradle the infant filled Kevin not with warmth, but with an unexplainable irritation. Selena, glowing with maternal pride, held out the baby to him. Kevin, she said softly, why don't you name him? Kevin's expression hardened. He shook his head firmly. No, I'm not the child's father. It wouldn't be right. Selena froze, her smile stiffening. Hadn't Kevin always liked her? Wasn't he the one who insisted she move in after her husband died, promising to take care of her? So why, now that she'd given birth, did everything feel different? Kevin turned away and left the room, his feet somehow carrying him back to the VIP ward. The same place where he had once slapped Emma. That was when he noticed something he had never realized before. The room had surveillance cameras. He asked to see the recording, and the moment the footage played, his heart nearly stopped. In the video, it was clear Selena had thrown herself down, dragging Emma with her. Kevin's fists clenched until his knuckles turned white. Then he slammed them against the wall with such force that the staff in the monitoring room gasped. Back in the ward, Selena's eyes lit up the instant she saw him. Even after childbirth, she still fluttered toward him like a delicate deer. She glanced at Kevin's unconscious mother on the bed and sighed dramatically. Auntie's been in a coma for so long, she said softly. And Emma hasn't even come to visit once. I wonder if she ever saw you or Auntie as family. She prattled on, completely unaware that Kevin's expression was growing darker by the second. Then she turned to him, feigning innocence. Kevin, do you think maybe Emma has someone else outside? The words had barely left her lips when Kevin's hand struck her face. Smack! The blow was sharp and brutal. Years of military training gave his hand the force of a hammer. Selena stumbled back, blood spilling from her mouth, a tooth clattering onto the floor. Kevin, why would you hit me? Even now, she tried to sound pitiful, her voice quivering with false fragility. Kevin didn't answer. He simply dragged her by the arm to the surveillance room. As the video replayed, Selena's smile gradually faded. Scene by scene, the truth unfolded before her eyes. When she finally looked up, Kevin's gaze was colder than she had ever seen. Murderous, almost feral. For the first time, she realized that this man might actually kill her for what she'd done to Emma. She backed into the corner, trembling, her once-groomed hair falling messily over her face. Kevin turned to the guards, voice low and controlled. Send her away tomorrow morning. Selena burst into tears. Kevin, please, don't send me back. My husband's family beats me, my parents-in-law, even my son. They all treat me like dirt. Please, I can't go back there. But Kevin's decision was final. He didn't look at her again. He simply left. That night, driven by desperation, Selena drugged Kevin's drink and slipped into his bed. "Kevin," she whispered. "After tonight, I'll be your woman." But she underestimated the strength and discipline of a soldier. Even half drunk, Kevin hurled her off the bed with one arm. She landed hard, a sharp crack echoing, a broken rib. Before dawn, Kevin ordered men to send her away for good. When the house finally fell silent, he looked around and realized, everywhere he turned, there were traces of Selena, Emma's bedsheets, Emma's towels, Emma's toothbrush, all pushed into a forgotten corner. Pain twisted his chest until he could barely breathe. The only thing Emma had left behind was her small notebook, the one where she had been marking off days in a quiet countdown. Kevin opened it carefully. On the day he had signed the divorce papers, she had drawn a small heart, and later, across that same heart, a single, heavy cross. He called for a guard. What day was that? The man thought for a moment. That day, it was Madame's birthday, and also your father-in-law's death anniversary. Kevin felt his heart drop to the floor. Her birthday, her father's Memorial Day. She had wanted to share a meal with him that night. One simple dinner. If he'd said yes, would she have stayed? Would she still be here? But he had refused her. He had left her alone. A splitting headache tore through his skull. In his mind, her face flickered, her shy smile as she helped him with his uniform, her angry tears, her quiet devotion. Every image burned, every memory stabbed. And now, she was gone, forever. The guard's voice broke through his daze. "Captain, shall I take my leave?" Kevin raised his head, eyes blazing. "Submit a report to command," he said. "I'm applying for reassignment." "To where, sir?" Kevin's voice was steady, resolute. "The Northwest." If Emma was there, then that was where he'd go. No matter how far, no matter what it cost, he would find her, even if it took the rest of his life. Chapter 9. The next time I saw Kevin was 2 years later. He had been reassigned to the Northwest. Without even stopping by his home, he came straight to find me. When I saw him, I smiled. 2 years had passed, but he looked as though he had aged 10. His once dark hair was now streaked with gray, and deep lines had carved themselves into his once handsome face. This time, I could meet his gaze calmly. But Kevin, he looked like a nervous boy again. His hands fidgeting, unsure what to do, he rushed forward, snatching the heavy crate from my arms and loading it onto the truck. "You're a woman, why are you doing such hard labor?" he scolded. Hard labor? I didn't tell him that caring for his mother back then had been far harder. She had hated me, cursing and striking me whenever she pleased. Sometimes at 3 in the morning, she would wake me demanding breakfast. I bore it all in silence. What hurt the most wasn't the exhaustion. It was that no matter how much I did, she never once looked at me with kindness. In my past life, she had even sent me miles away to fetch trivial things, just to give Kevin and Selena time alone together. What kind of mother would deliberately help her son cheat on his wife? Even now, the memory still twisted painfully inside me. Kevin told me that his mother had suffered a stroke and had been in a coma ever since. She would probably never wake again. Then he looked at me, eyes filled with longing. He said he was alone now, and asked if I would come back to him. To be fair, Kevin was still young to have reached the rank of captain. With no family burdens now, he would have been a good choice for any woman. Steady, respectable, promising. But I simply told him, "I've joined the party." He blinked, surprised, his eyes flicking to the small red badge on my chest. He had never imagined that a rural woman like me could one day stand here with such pride. I didn't miss the flicker of admiration that crossed his face. And then, I added, "Anne, I've been promoted. They're transferring me to the capital." The light in his eyes dimmed instantly. He had spent 2 years begging for a reassignment, just to come to the Northwest, and now that he'd finally arrived, I was leaving. Military transfers were rare. A man might only get 2 chances in a lifetime. Each one could take nearly a decade to earn. Kevin grasped my hand tightly, pulling me into his arms. "Can't you stay?" he murmured, voice hoarse. "For me?" I laughed softly. In the past, wherever he went, I followed. I never once complained, even when he brought Selena into our home. I said nothing, because I didn't want to make things harder for him, and now he had the audacity to ask me to stay for him? I pulled my hand free, my tone cold. No, Kevin, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. Then I took an envelope from my bag and handed it to him. I'm getting married. You're welcome to attend. My transfer to the capital had been arranged by my fiancé. We had fallen in love at first sight, both recognized for our excellence, and were now being reassigned together. Kevin's eyes reddened instantly. His hands trembled as he tried to take the invitation, but it slipped through his fingers again and again. I pressed it into his palm, then climbed into the vehicle. Goodbye, Kevin. He stood there motionless, clutching his chest, and as the car pulled away, I saw him cough up a mouthful of blood, but I didn't look back. Not this time. Goodbye, Kevin, for good.